nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to a Monday edition of the Managing Madrid Podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan, Sobhani, joined by Lucas Navarrete for another edition of El Día Después. Of course, recording this 2 days after Real Madrid beat Real Betis. And now we are 2 days away, Lucas, from Real Madrid losing at some point in the second half, 3-0 at the Bernabeu to Liverpool and turning our stomachs inside out. So we'll save the heart attacks for 2 days from now. We're going to talk about stuff. And there's a surprisingly decent amount of stuff to talk about if you want to talk about non-football things. Like, I don't know, our arch rivals being denounced and prosecuted and getting in all kinds of trouble and us getting involved now. So there's a real thing that we can talk about from our perspective. Yeah, there's a lot going on. We're going to tackle as much as we can and we'll see where this goes. Lucas, how you doing, man?
Hey, Kiyan, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me as always.
Of course. Where do you want to start? You want to start talking about Espanyol? You want to talk about Athletic missing golden opportunities against Barcelona?
Let's start if you want. Yeah, we talked about this off air. Let's start if you want with the Apple TV documentary, and then move on to quote unquote non-related Real Madrid stuff if you want with the BarcaGate and all that. What did you think of it? I saw your first Instagram story saying that the first episode was kind of mediocre. And I agree, and I would extend that sentiment for all 3 episodes. I think it's a shame that such a quality production with those cameras, obviously that kind of video available, that kind of access to the dressing room and all that, pretty much gave no added value to what we all got to see on television, right? It was pretty much a summary of the Champions League run, no big, detailed, quality and really worthy inside access to the bus or to the dressing room or to the training sessions. I thought it was a massive wasted opportunity in this regard. I enjoyed very much more the Real Madrid TV produced ones, although the quality was worse with the quality of the video and all that. The shootings overall were definitely worse and not the highest of quality in that regard. But at least it gave us more detailed access into the team's training camp before the final, into the team's hotel before the final as well, the dressing rooms with halftime speeches and all that. So in that regard, I thought it was a massive wasted opportunity.
Yeah, Matt and I talked about this a little bit after the Espanyol post-game podcast, like towards the end of it. And I just thought it was a little bit disappointing. It was hyped up. And I think what carried it was really the content, which is Real Madrid had epic comebacks over and over again. And that's what carries it. But it's not the storytelling of the documentary. There's not really any inside information. I mean, essentially, it's just a hype video. What I said to Matt is there's that Twitter account or a YouTube account. I don't know what it is, or maybe both. It's called Madridistas TV. I think that puts out these cool compilations or these cool montages of the comeback. And I enjoy watching those, but I can just watch those. Like, this Apple documentary didn't give me anything new, really. I thought there were too many people speaking. I thought even David Beckham's place was really weird because he was just reading a script and it was super inauthentic.
One line.
Yeah, and he was just...
Yeah, 2 lines.
He looked like a robot just reading those lines.
I thought he was going to be the how you call it, the narrator. I don't know if that's a correct
narrator,
word, at least in Spanish. I thought that was going to be his role in this, and I was surprised to see him just reading one line by the final episode. So, yeah.
His place in this was weird. If there's like a more authentic thing he can say, like with that, where he's not robotic and reading lines, then go for it. But I thought his place was really weird. Yeah, again, I have a lot of respect for everyone who was involved in that documentary, but I did feel like, I don't know how to frame this, but like there was just a lot of people talking in the documentary. I think they didn't really add anything to the whole thing. What I did find most interesting, and I wish they focused on more, was that when the players spoke, it at least engaged me. Like when Modric was telling his version of the story, when Casemiro was talking about, we're not on the level of PSG, that was interesting to me to hear that from the players. So more from the players and less from the media would, I think, be a decent start. Although I will say I enjoyed the second episode more. Maybe that's because that's when they showed the comeback against PSG, and that was cool. But this, I mean, look, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I mean, it was geared, I think, towards a lot of people who don't really know anything about Real Madrid.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely tell that. Yeah.
People who would not have known about any of this, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think the production quality, like I was watching it actually with somebody last night, and the second episode, and they noted when the only thing they said, like, there wasn't like, oh, this is amazing. The only thing that they pointed out was when Modric was looking at the iPad of him going around the dressing room and hugging everyone. Yeah. Remember that? They said, they copied that from The Last Dance when Michael Jordan's holding the iPad and reacting to things. I was like, oh, great observation. So there's a question about this actually that came in from a patron. Right. Adrian Rios, our patron, says, hey team, has anyone seen the Real Madrid Apple documentary yet? I thought it was interesting that the only non-Madrid coaches that featured and spoke in the documentary were Tuchel and Pochettino, the two coaches we've been linked with the most. What are your thoughts? Does the club just have a great relationship with these type of managers, or is this them doing this in hopes of getting the coaching gig at some point?
I would agree with that, and I could buy the point, but Xavi also appears. Remember, Xavi also appears talking about El Clásico, and not in press conference like when Guardiola previews matches against Real Madrid. They obviously show footage of Guardiola during his press conferences and all that. Xavi appears the same as Pochettino and Tuchel. So the point loses a bit of accuracy in this regard. But ultimately, I don't know how these big productions work. I don't know if they actually pay these guys to appear on the show, even if it's just obviously a big amount of money or something like that, or they just ask.
I doubt there's any money involved in this. I doubt it.
I know. It was weird that Xavi accepted to appear, though. Don't you think?
Yeah, I suppose it is. I never really thought about it, but yeah, I suppose I don't know what he's doing there, or why he accepted to talk about Real Madrid.
No, it's fine to have him. I don't have any complaints about him appearing. Yeah. Though. It's just me saying that it's the fact that did he just accept to appear in a documentary glorifying Real Madrid for free? Was a bit strange in my opinion. But in that regard, I think that obviously Tuchel and Pochettino maybe want to keep themselves relevant for Real Madrid and want to have a good relationship with the club. Definitely, that's maybe at least a part of why they ultimately appear in the show. But overall, I think that maybe they all thought that this was going to be a big production. They didn't want to just miss on the opportunity of being there. Same as, since we just talked about The Last Dance, same as Karl Malone, for example. He never had a great relationship with Michael Jordan and all that, and ultimately he decided to appear. Why? I don't know. Maybe money was involved, or maybe he just felt like, oh, this is Netflix, this is a big thing, and I have a good opportunity to be here and at least share my version of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt there's any money involved, but sometimes these people just accept. I would do the same if I was Tuchel or Pochettino, wanting to just have good relationships with Real Madrid. Why not? I don't. I think that's a logical stance from them to take. I haven't seen the Tuchel part yet. I'm assuming that's in episode 3, but yeah. Again, I think what I found most interesting was not the narrations or the commentary from anyone in this documentary, but more so just when people were speaking within the club. I mentioned this to Matt. It was just, even if it's like nothing groundbreaking, like, wow, I can't believe it, but it was kind of wholesome to see stories from Florentino about his lip, when he was a child, and the scar, and then Ancelotti making jokes about this is how we score, his tactics. Remember, he's like, the ball goes here and then here and then here and then goes in the net.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed those things when Modric was speaking, Benzema was speaking. That was cool. I wish there was more focus on just those guys speaking about their experience. And maybe some, I mean, it would be really fascinating if you got like Neymar and Messi and Mbappe to talk about what was happening. That would be really cool. But you didn't get that.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't know, this is not necessarily related, but something that's been on my mind is that, just watching the comeback against PSG reminded me, and also kind of goes in hand with their exit this year against Bayern Munich, that I do wonder sometimes how the media portrays the importance of players. I forget which media outlet it was that was one of the big media outlets that before the game against Bayern Munich, it was something about Messi's PSG to take on Bayern. And then when they lost, that same media outlet said Mbappe's PSG loses to Bayern. Obviously not mentioning. I also think one of the most underrated players, I think, in the past few years, in my opinion, has been Neymar. And I understand why a lot of people are not too fond of him because of the way he's taking care of himself, maybe some of the seriousness he's taking these games with. But to me, he's been, I don't know if this is blasphemous. I don't know if there's any huge Messi fans who listen to this podcast anyway, but I kind of think Neymar has been a much more decisive and important player than Messi in the Champions League since 2015. Even if you go all the way back when he was playing with Barca, that comeback against PSG was him. They're not winning that game 6-1 if he doesn't, with 10 minutes to go, be the only player believing that they could come back. He was amazing in that year that they went to the final. He had that in one of the all-time performances against Napoli. I think we had 16 completed dribbles. So I don't know. It just kind of made me think somehow, to me, it feels weird to me that the greatest player of all time can have 8 straight years of being an absolute ghost in the most important competition in the world. And I just I can't accept it, that's like Michael Jordan will not be considered the GOAT if for 8 straight years in the biggest game of the season, no one even knew he was on the court. It kind of doesn't sit well with me. I understand why a lot of people feel he is the GOAT. I respect it, but I just can't accept it for that reason. The most important competition in the world. It's not 1 year. It's not 2 years. It's not 3 years. Not 4. Not 5. Not 6. Not 7. It's 8 years in the decisive game. Where is he? And anyways, this has just been on my mind because watching that comeback reminded me of it, and then goes hand in hand with the Bayern thing too. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Definitely, and you kind of had some second thoughts on whether or not you wanted to backpedal on your initial thought, considering maybe that it was blasphemous or something like that. And I just think it's completely right. I think everyone who has watched Champions League football for the last pretty much decade can notice the fact that, Neymar has been better Champions League player than Messi, and he's definitely been more important for PSG than Messi since the two of them have been together in France. So I definitely agree with you there when you say that Messi's legacy should be affected by this kind of performances in the Champions League. But ultimately, the fact that he won the World Cup seems to be the perfect excuse for the whole media and football media to forget about what's been happening in the biggest stage on a consistent basis for the last 7, 8, even 9 years.
Yeah. It was super satisfying to see again the Modric tackle on Messi, which was one of my favorite parts of last season.
About just one quick thought about the product itself being targeted for more casual fans. I think this is probably the right move for Real Madrid and Apple to do in order to increase audience, because probably not even a single listener will know what I'm talking about. But Formula One, MotoGP have both released different documentaries with kind of different targets in audience. Formula One for the more casual fans, even creating some fake narratives that whoever watches this sport knows that this is not even true and not even accurate. But, at the very least, the casuals seem to be getting engaged and all that, and that obviously helps the product. While and the Netflix show was a huge success on Formula One. And on the MotoGP side of things, I enjoyed their documentary on Amazon a lot, because it was targeted for people who actually watch MotoGP on a consistent basis and know what they're talking about. So, you get in-depth interview with the riders. They explain how they train and all that. But the product itself was a failure, because it didn't attract new people to MotoGP or to the show. So only the people who are already hardcore MotoGP fans enjoyed it. So, it's frustrating for us, hardcore Real Madrid fans, if not analysts, to see that, this is such a wasted opportunity. But from the marketing side of things, it probably makes sense, as sad as it is.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see the F1 doc, but like Matt's a huge fan of that documentary, and he's not an F1 fan. He said it made him want to watch F1 and get into it more. But he says that the level of that documentary is way higher than this Apple TV thing that with Real Madrid.
Well, yeah. No, the level, the quality of the production itself from Netflix is it's amazing. They travel to each and every Grand Prix, to each and every race. They see it with every single driver. The quality of the filming and the show itself, in showing spectacular images from races and all that, it's just great. But I think it speaks volumes when I tell you that I've been watching pretty much every single Formula One race for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and I didn't even watch the last 2 seasons of the documentary. I'm not interested. It's just some fake narratives, some stuff constantly explained as if we didn't know what's going on. So it's directed for people who don't watch Formula One on a consistent basis, and in order to attract them to the sport. And in that sense, from a marketing perspective, it definitely makes sense. But it's definitely worth noting that it's not a product for everyone who already watched Formula One. But in terms of the quality of production, it was. It's hard actually to match that kind of documentary. Is very, very, very well produced.
I don't think this. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe there's like just thousands of people around the world who were not Real Madrid fans who are now Real Madrid fans because of this documentary. But this documentary doesn't strike me as something that would suck someone in. It's kind of too slow pace. Like a much better marketing tactic is if someone actually just watched the game that day. They'd be like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, you know what I mean? But the documentary this one feels a little bit too slow paced for me to find someone else getting engaged into it.
I agree.
So I want to ask you this. Last week, neither of us felt that something would actually happen to Barcelona. Do you feel differently now or no?
No, not really. Something might happen again. As I said last week, something might happen to Bartomeu, to who was the other? To Rosell, maybe even to Laporta. I just don't see anything happening to Barcelona as a club in the football side of things. I don't see them losing points. I don't see them losing trophies from that era. I don't see them being relegated. I just don't. Something will probably and will definitely happen in the financial side of things. Maybe in that sense, I don't know, some kind of punishment from a financial perspective, in the sense that maybe they will not be allowed to sign any players, similarly to what happened to, who was that, Chelsea a few years ago,
Manchester
when they
City,
weren't
wasn't
allowed
it?
to sign players for two. I don't
Or
even
was it
remember,
both?
either Manchester City, maybe both, for 2 or 3 straight transfer windows. They weren't allowed to
Didn't that
sign
happen
players
to us at one point? Didn't we have a ban
from
like 2-3 years ago?
my
Didn't we have like one summer or
no.
one winter?
Oh, now
I
you
don't know.
make me
I
having
could be
second
mixing it.
thoughts. I'm
Felt
not
like
sure.
there
I'm
was
not sure
something
now.
like
For all the Kubo thing, right? I don't know. We have to look it up. I think it
or
wasn't that
maybe
big
it
of a
just
deal,
never
though.
went that far. Just looking it up now. It was 2 transfer windows, which I think like didn't even affect us really, because one of them was a winter one, which we weren't going to sign anyone anyway. This goes back all the way to 2016 or something. Anyways,
Yeah, this has turned out to be the perfect Barcelona podcast, because we were talking about Barcelona getting punished, and now we are under revealing the punishments Real Madrid have faced in the past for doing things wrong. Barcelona fans will definitely be happy.
it's just
but
hilarious
reality,
that their entire argument is literally just to deflect about Real Madrid. As they not for 1 second were like, oh, maybe there's a 1% chance we did something wrong. It's like, no, 100% chance the reason we're innocent is because Real Madrid.
From 1980s. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, what they do is essentially what every club in the world could theoretically do about themselves and any other club. Because referees are so bad that you could make a compilation that favors Barcelona. You could make a compilation that shows that Barcelona got screwed. You can do this for Real Madrid. You can do this for Valencia. You can do this for Elche. You can do this for Chelsea. You can do this for Canadian national team. Like, that's just, if you cherry pick, you can create any narrative you want with one video.
Yeah.
You can talk about where Real Madrid benefited against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, but in that same game, you can make a video of all the times Real Madrid were screwed in that same game against Bayern Munich in Champions League. You can spin it however you want. But again, the fact that the argument is essentially, we're not guilty, and here's a Twitter thread of all of the times Real Madrid got benefited by the referee, is, I can't even tell if they're serious or they're just deranged.
Oh, they are, man. No, they are. Spanish society works like this. Pretty much every single aspect of it. It works the same way for politics, for example. Whenever one political party does something wrong, its fanboys go and point out to the things the other political party did wrong back in the day. So it was, in Spain, it works this way, man. It works this way. They're just incapable of doing any kind of self-criticism whenever your team, your political party, your family, your company has done something wrong. It's just everyone else's blame, and oh, we did this, but yeah, look at what the other did 2 years ago. It's just the way this society works in Spain, man.
So, I guess some of the more serious things about this case that make me feel like Barcelona are actually in trouble. And again, I don't know what the punishment is. I don't. Like you, it's hard for me to see them actually getting punished from a sporting perspective. That's just me being a skeptic and a pessimist. It's not necessarily based on pure reason and logic and justice. It's just me being a pessimist about the whole system. But one of the main things that isn't put out is that these payments to Negreira and then his son as well, allegedly, as I think Barca put it, for a video analysis, which does not exist. Nobody can prove that that's what this was for. It's obviously made up excuse. There's literally no video. It would have been shown by now if there was some kind of video analysis. It was obviously made completely under the table. El Confidencial wrote today, just quote from the article, quote, "The prosecutor's office is forceful in its denunciation. It assures that Barca paid more than 7 million euros to Negreira so that he would carry out actions tending to favor the club in the decision-making of the referees. The public prosecutor's office recalls that the CTA designated the referees for each match of the official Spanish state and professional competitions and was in charge of the evaluations in which the accused participated for the promotion and relegation of referees, as well as the proposal of candidates for international referees." So this, and the article is really long, and people can go obviously read it. But this was one of their arguments, was that, Negreira wasn't in charge of actually making decisions. It turns out that a person in his position actually does have influence. Who would have thought? But then there's this argument that some Barca fans have of like, well, show us the evidence that Barca were favored by the referee. Like, yeah, even if we paid them, where was the referee favoritism? And that logic is really dumb. I don't know, like, it shouldn't be even worth answering, but it's like hiring a hitman to kill somebody and the hitman fails to kill somebody. And you can be like, yeah, I paid him, but he didn't kill the guy. So like that's kind of what they're saying.
Where's the body? Where's the body?
Yeah.
Show me the body, man.
It's a really dumb argument that can be broken down really easily. So, but again, I just kind of a pessimist about the system. But do you find it interesting at all that Real Madrid went from zero involvement and staying out of it to like almost doing a 180 and then just putting their foot down and going all in almost? It seems like they're putting out all these videos. And it's kind of unclear to me, maybe you understand this better than me, if these videos they're putting out are directly related to BarcaGate, or it's just them saying, hey, these referees are screwing us for 20 years now. Like, how connected was it? I'm assuming it was connected, but I wasn't sure if you were more clear on that.
Well, first of all, I think that Real Madrid took the cautious and possible logical approach with the whole case, in the sense that Florentino probably never wanted to get involved or published anything until the Spanish justice decided to actually get involved, which happened like pretty much the same day Real Madrid published the statement.
Yeah.
Like, until then, it was all a matter of reports in the Spanish press. Yeah, reliable and credible reports with evidence, full of evidence and all that. Like, it was pretty much a matter of time for the Spanish justice to get involved, and we all saw, Tebas entertaining the idea, and it was something that happened already and factual and something there. But Real Madrid did not want to entertain the whole idea of getting involved until the Spanish justice system decided to get involved, which is probably the right move to do, in my opinion. If I'm Florentino Perez, I think it makes sense to me to wait until there's an actual case going on, and the Justice Department is actually looking into it. So that's on one side. And the second part of your question / argument, I have not seen all the videos, but to me, Real Madrid is kind of answering some of the quotes and reports that some of the former referees are doing on radios. Like, for example, the video about Iturralde Gonzalez is just Real Madrid replying to what Iturralde is saying on a radio, saying that Real Madrid also have some shady and fishy stuff from that era, saying that Real Madrid, I don't know, it's just a matter of Real Madrid kind of defending themselves from some quote-unquote accusations from former referees who were definitely not had definitely not lost for Real Madrid, which is the case for Iturralde and has been the case for his entire career. Everyone knew that. Everyone who watched Spanish football in that time knew that Iturralde hated Real Madrid's guts. He's proved that time and time again. When he retired and decided to work for the radios, with his quotes, with his assessment of some plays here and there. So to me, it's not. I wouldn't take it as far as saying that Real Madrid are kind of providing or trying to provide evidence on how the referees did something wrong during the Negreira era. To me, I wouldn't take it as far as interpreting it that way, in my opinion.
So, I mean, this is really interesting. And like coming from someone who personally, my personal feeling, and everyone has their opinion, I hate the fact, I honestly, I don't like it when Real Madrid come out after the game and complain about the referees. I'm not a fan of these videos either. So that's my personal opinion. You guys can have whatever opinion you want. I don't like it. I just like to talk about football and like to focus on it. And I don't like to talk about excuses. Obviously, if there's like a real conspiracy in that, or there's like literally real corruption, it's a different story. And you can disregard my opinion if you want. And I understand that. I just don't like the excuses. And that's just me because I love to talk about football. There's these two videos that were released on the weekend, and they've done this before. It wasn't just this weekend. This is something that Real Madrid TV has done in the past. Both those videos are actually pretty damning. The Culés Gomez one, who is now head of VAR, they put out statistics and video examples of how Real Madrid just don't do well when he's in charge. And the Iturralde one, as you said, was in direct response to Iturralde going on national TV on maybe Saturday night, I think, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And he just slams Real Madrid for putting out these videos. And then they put out the video of Iturralde Gonzalez. And that video is pretty damning too. I mean, it's just these just crazy decisions. Surprise. I mean, I don't have to like go through it, but like there's one of like Zidane literally getting elbowed in the head, and then him getting a yellow. You know, like there's like just a lot of nonsense.
Did you see that play that was posted on Twitter? I'm not sure if it was part of Real Madrid's own video, but I saw one particular play in 2015, Real Madrid's visit to Rayo Vallecano. One yellow card shown to Cristiano Ronaldo for faking a penalty.
Yes.
It's the most ridiculous play I've ever seen in my entire life, man. Well, it's just one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever seen. It's not. I don't think Iturralde made it. I think it was close or someone like that. I don't know, but it was one of the most ridiculous plays I've ever seen. Now that we're talking into those strange things.
So Iturralde, it should be known. You said he hates Real Madrid.
Absolutely,
he has always hated Real Madrid. He continues to hate Real Madrid after he retires. And this is not something like we're just assuming or we think. He's literally gone in interviews and boasted about the fact that my numbers when refereeing against Real Madrid, their record is terrible. This is how many goals they concede. Yeah. This is how many cards they get.
He's bragging about it.
This is how many losses they get. And he jokes and he laughs when he's saying it. He thinks it's funny. Yeah. He literally hates Real Madrid. And so this is not like a thing we're making up. He literally hates Real Madrid. So I think it was and goes out of his way to defend Barca. Managing Madrid retweeted something on the Twitter account that there's like a video where he's doing a video analysis defending Barcelona, making up like it's just the most farcical thing. It looks like Saturday Night Live. He's dead serious defending Barcelona in this call that is clearly not correct. So he has that track record. So that's some context about Iturralde that I think is most why. In case you guys aren't following or know what we're talking about, this is the kind of guy we're talking about right now. It's just I feel like there's a lot of just. There was another report I saw yesterday about Barca cover-ups with Media Pro Movistar. This is another thing that kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Oh yeah. The protests in San Mamés, right?
There was big protests in San Mamés against Barca's corruption. And
Kudos to Athletic Bilbao, by the way. They hate Real Madrid as well, but they at least hate Barcelona the same way they hate Real Madrid, which you don't see very often in other clubs. You see in other clubs in Spanish football, they hate Real Madrid, but whenever Barcelona comes to town, everything's fine. And whenever they get the wrong end of the stick against Barcelona, everything fine. They don't complain. Look at Valencia, for example, and what Valencia would have done had this same missed penalty happened against Real Madrid and not against Barcelona as it happened. So kudos to Bilbao for at least having the guts to doing that kind of protest against Real Madrid, because you don't find that very often in Spanish football.
So this is another thing that kind of got lost in this, is that Jaume Ruris, I mean, this is guy who was in the news quite a bit a few months ago, I think, because he's one of the guys who actually helped with the funding of one of Barca's levers.
Yeah, executed one lever. Yeah,
he is part of MediaPro. Actually, he's the CEO of MediaPro.
No, the owner. The owner,
sure.
Yeah.
The owner of, and so MediaPro cut from the broadcast Athletics demonstrations yesterday.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just didn't know about it until DAZN posted a video of the cut protests on their channel. And so that's kind of like just adds to the shadiness of this whole thing. Like, Barca's involvement with MediaPro, all these levers. Like, I know, like, we kind of say that a financial penalty won't do Barca, like, nothing's going to happen unless it's financially related. A financial thing would actually hurt them quite a bit too. They're already a pretty bad situation. And obviously they didn't hit their targets in the budget, which justified their levers in that they projected they would qualify for the quarterfinals of the Champions League. That didn't happen. That really hurt them as well financially. It would hurt them. Again, it's not like, I don't know if they'll get the full justified punishment that they deserve. I want to say one more thing, Lucas. A lot of people are saying it's not good for the league. It's not good for Real Madrid if it gets punished. You have to look beyond that. I know it's a lose-lose in that scenario, but long term,
justice is more important than that.
For sure. Justice is more important than that. And I think one of the reasons why Real Madrid all of a sudden flipped it and went from not being involved to being really involved, waiting for the prosecution to happen, is that I don't think they want to be associated with this kind of thing. And they want to distance themselves from it. And I don't even think the Super League is important enough for them to be associated with this. I don't know. It remains to be seen where this goes. But obviously, as an institution, if there is proven corruption and that has hurt your team over the last 20 years and counting, that's going to piss you off. Like, they're not going to like just be friends with you for like just because of a Super League. You got to get past like the marketing and the hurts the league nonsense and all. I mean, it's not nonsense. It's real. It hurts the league, hurts Real Madrid, but you can't be associated with that kind of thing, right? So
the thing that drives me a little bit crazy is the fact that some people may, as you said before, and we often don't like to talk about these matters, about referee mistakes, about conspiracy theories and all that. But these reports from about Barcelona not having a single penalty called against them for over 2 seasons, those reports have been on Twitter and on media and have been kind of common knowledge for quite some time. Mourinho went out of his way to kind of denounce this pretty much this same conspiracy theory we're seeing right now. So the fact that all journalists seem now to be jumping into the bandwagon that years ago they called us crazy for kind of saying that Barcelona always seemed to be getting a more favorable performance from the referee, at least for their interests. When we were saying and denouncing this, we were called crazy and insane, and now they seem to be jumping into the bandwagon, and everyone seems to be kind of assuming and accepting that maybe Mourinho back in the day was right in some of the things he said. about about coming with a list full of errors here, saying that Barcelona never get a penalty called against. So now it seems that Mourinho was right, and that Mourinho was that it was fine for him to kind of denounce these things, because ultimately he was right.
The Mourinho speech was just so epic. It's one of those things that like I could just watch every day. It's the way he words it. I mean, that speech was right after Pepe's red card in the first leg against Barca.
Yeah.
Following that speech, it was damning that in the Camp Nou in the second leg, against all odds, we actually almost came back and overturned the deficit. But Higuaín scores a goal that was disallowed because Piqué trips Ronaldo. And because he trips Ronaldo, Ronaldo falls on, I think it was Mascherano, who goes down. Yeah. And then the goal gets disallowed. And you were like, well, I think Mourinho was right. Like, in what world does Piqué fouling Ronaldo result in Higuaín's disallowed goal? That was right after the speech.
Remember the Van Persie red card in the Emirates also?
There's a lot. I mean, the Chelsea and Inter could both put 2-hour compilations of how they got screwed. But like the Europe thing is almost a different conversation, because Negreira has no grounds in Europe, so that's almost a different. That's probably just bad refereing. I doubt that's match fixing or whatever. But you can have your own opinion on that. But was one more thing I wanted to say about this. I don't remember what it was.
About Mourinho's speech.
Mourinho. Can't remember. I have a slight change of topic, but do you have anything else you want to talk about with regards to Barca?
No, not really. I think we touched on everything there. Yeah.
So I have something that's kind of related, but kind of not. Felix Zwayer has been appointed to the Real Madrid Liverpool game on Wednesday. I don't know if this is getting lost. This is another guy who should not be refereeing anyone. I'm not going to stand here and say he will screw Real Madrid or benefit Real Madrid. I just think Real Madrid and Liverpool are both equally screwed into this, because he is literally a referee who in 2005 was proven to be involved in match fixing and accepting bribes. I don't know how he still has a job. He was in a match fixing scandal in the Bundesliga. He accepted money from teams. And so just wanted to put that out there. If he does something crazy on Wednesday, just remember this segment that I just put it out there, that he was involved in match fixing like 15, 20 years ago, whatever it was. It's another weird one. These guys should just never be given second chances. I don't understand it. They should just be fired on the spot and never to return.
Yeah, absolutely. At least not for the Champions League. It's just one of those stages that you would assume that it would require, definitely a clean slate from a referee. So I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have any midweek predictions, Champions League or for Real Madrid or otherwise this week?
Not really, but since you ask, I expect Real Madrid to go through, and maybe there's a surprise with Leipzig. Hopefully, Hopefully, I'm waiting for Leipzig to surprise Manchester City there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like looking at that one with interest and thinking that maybe Leipzig can actually do something there. At the very,
maybe there's a chance.
Yeah, maybe at the very least make it uncomfortable. But I don't fully expect a comfortable game on Wednesday. I feel like there's going to be some nerves. I don't think it's impossible that Liverpool go up 2-0 at halftime and it becomes really uncomfortable. But I could also see us just maybe scoring an early goal. But hey, man, 2-0 at halftime for Liverpool is not impossible for me.
Yeah. No, it's not impossible.
But I hope I'm dead wrong. Again, and I hope like it's just we put our foot on the pedal and go the other way. I just have a feeling that we're going to have to rely on our bench to come in and fix some things in the second half, is my guess.
Yeah, but even if they take a 2-0 halftime lead, they would still need 2 more goals send
just
Madrid
one to
home.
take it
One
into
more
extra
goal
time.
to send the extra time. Yeah, I know, but it takes a huge collapse for Madrid to lose this lead. I think.
Yeah.
Like monumental. It would be a monumental disaster. Yeah.
It would just be a absolute disaster. If the away goals rule was in effect still, I'd feel more comfortable, obviously. But
yeah, obviously, yeah.
All right, man. This is a good chat. I don't know how we squeezed in almost an hour. I think we're at 45 minutes maybe. And we didn't even talk about football. We just talked about controversies and stuff. So just some housekeeping. Lucas, when's your next Twitch?
Pretty much right now. Around 7:30, and I'll probably do another one on Friday or so when I get home. You're more than invited to that one. If you have a free and easy schedule, maybe we can do the mailbag on Thursday as usual, and then have this chat on Twitch on Friday if you want.
Okay, cool. I'll also extend an invitation to you tomorrow on our Discord channel. I'm doing a live podcast there where you can do Q&A. You can hop on.
What time?
At 5:30 Spain time. That's
might
factoring
join
in
my
the time
cell
change.
phone a little bit later.
Okay.
A little bit later from my cell phone since I will be away, but I might join. Yeah.
Cool. Hop on. If you guys want to get in on that action, join us on Discord. I don't think you can record that and post it later. So just you're gonna have to be one of those ones that you have to tune in live if you want access to it. And on Wednesday night, 1 hour after the game, Zoom podcast. You get a Zoom link if you're a patron. You join us on the show for video breakdown, chat, Q&A. And those are always epic. Make sure you get access to that over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. The Thursday mailbag that Lucas talked about also on patreon.com/Managing Madrid. So make sure you're a patron. Don't miss out on the content. Lucas, happy Monday. Thanks for chatting. Take care.
Thank you, Kiyan. Have a good week.
Thanks for listening, guys. And before we wrap it up here and send you along on your way, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid who do so much to support the show. Thank you guys for being on this journey with us and being a part of this ever-growing Real Madrid family. If you pledge $10 or more, not only do you get access to every single bonus content we do, and not only do you get guaranteed responses to your questions, but you also get a specific shout out on the podcast. So shout out to these $10 plus patrons as follows: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Way Paring, Wamik Jamal, Tobias Royal Botcher, Taleb Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Sheikh Hatiri, Shamil, Shabaz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samir Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan, Sasi Kumar, Saad Omar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafati, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, and then we got Nelson Mazariego, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Connor McMorrow, Con P, Christian Toft, Christian Acosta, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Arnab Mukherjee, Armin Kashi, Armando L, Anirudh Singh, Andres Silvestre, Ananya Kumar, Alex Steiberg, Alex Rose, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Ramtin Maghrur, Manaf Al-Haddad, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We love you guys so much. Thank you, and Hala Madrid.